welcome to today's Literature in English lesson. Today we shall be looking at the non-African poem Binsey Poplars by Gerard Hopkins. This poem is recommended by the West African Examination Council for the 2021 to 2025 syllables. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to recite the poem, give a historical context to the poem, and summarize the poem. Let's begin by looking at the poem Binsey Poplars by Gerard Hopkins. My aspens dear, whose airy cages quelled or quenched in leaves the leaping sun. All failed are all failed, of a fresh and following folded rank, not spared, not one that dandled a sandaled shadow that swam on rank, on meadow and river, and wind wandering, wind winding back. Oh, if we but knew what we do, when we delve or hew, hack and rack the growing green. Since country is so tender to touch, her being so slender, that like this sleek and seen ball, but a prick will make no eye at all. Where we, even where we mean to mend her, we end her, when we hew or delve. Aftercomers cannot guess the beauty being 10 or 12, only 10 or 12 strokes of havoc on self, the sweet especial scene. Rural scene, a rural scene, sweet especial rural scene. Now let's look at the historical context to this poem, Binsey Poplars. Of course, like I said earlier, the poem was written by the English poet Gerard Hopkins, and that was in the year 1879. Now, who was Hopkins? Hopkins was a Jesuit priest and a highly innovative poet, and he was renowned for his unique use of language and rhythm in his poems. Now, he was inspired by the felling of a row of poplars trees. This poem, Binsey Poplars, was inspired by the felling of a row of poplars trees in a village near Oxford in 1879. Of course, poplar refers to a kind of tree, and there was a row of these kind of trees in a village near Oxford, but they were all felled in the year 1879. And that is what inspired Hopkins to write this poem, Binsey Poplars. Because these trees held a special significance for Hopkins. He often took walks in the area and he admired the beauty of these poplar trees. So their destruction deeply saddened him and led him to reflect on the destructive impact of industrialization on the natural world. It was believed that these trees were felled so that they can use them to construct railway lines and other items which signify development or industrialization. And so this poem invariably captures the impact of industrialization on the natural world. So in the poem, Hopkins laments the loss of the poplars and he expresses his despair at the loss of nature's beauty. The poem also explores the issue of the transience or the impermanence of nature. And the poem somehow questions the essence of industrialization or the value of progress at the expense of the beauty of nature. So Hopkins' use of language in this poem, Binsey Poplars, is highly innovative. It features his characteristic use of imagery. There's also alliteration and there's rhythm. But what he does best is that he employs a vivid description to create a contrast between the beauty of the poplars trees and the destruction of nature. The poem's rhythmic structure mimics the cutting down of the trees with a regular pattern disrupted by sudden breaks and shifts. So words like hacks and racks, all these mimics the cutting down of trees. So overall, Binsey Poplars is a poignant reflection on the loss of natural beauty and the harmful impact of human activity, civilization, development, industrialization, whatever you may call it, on the environment. And the poem also shows Hopkins' unique poetic style and his deep appreciation for the natural world. So let's look at a summary or analysis of the poem. If you look at the lines, the first lines, my aspens, dear, whose airy cages quelled or quenched in leaves the leaping sun. Now, these lines signify apostrophe. Apostrophe is a figurative expression where someone addresses a non-living thing or an absent person as if they were present or as if they were listening. Now, the persona in these lines is addressing the poplars, that is the trees. He calls them my aspens there, whose airy cage is quelled. He's praising them, saying that the branches and the leaves of these trees provided shade, provided a cool and refreshing spot from the heat of the sun. When the sun is out with so much heat, these trees provide air, fresh air, and they quench, they cool the environment. They provide a soft spot, a relaxing spot where people, just like the persona, find solace and relax and take shade from the sun. So he remembers the essence, the significance of these trees just before they were cut down. Now, the next lines shows this when it says, all failed. Failed are all failed of a fresh and following folded rank, not spared, not one, that dandled a sandaled shadow, that swam or rank on meadow and river, and wind wandering, wind winding back. So these lines laments the destruction of these trees, these wonderful trees that provided solace, that provided comfort for the persona and everyone along this bank. This row of trees that were beautiful, they've been destroyed. They've all been felled. Not one was spared. And so these lines lament the destruction of nature. Nature's beauty, nature's essence, and nature's significance. This line demonstrates that and laments the destruction of nature. And the persona goes further to say in the following lines, oh, if we but knew what we do when we delve or hew, hack and rack the growing green. So he's saying at this point, if only we knew the level of destruction, the level of degradation that humans engage in when they destroy, when they attack nature. And the key words to note here are delve, hew, hack, and rack. These words are destructive words. They suggest the destruction, how destructive man can be on nature. And he's saying, if only we knew the level of degradation, the level of destruction that we engage in by destroying nature at the expense of industrialization, because we want to develop, we want to construct railways and other items of industrialization, and then we destroy nature. If only we knew the level of destruction, we would stop this kind of actions. That is what the persona is lamenting. The growing green reflects the beauty of nature, and the hacking and racking shows the destruction of this beauty. The next lines, the persona says, since country is so tender to touch, her being so slender, that like this sleek and seen ball, but a prick will make no eye at all. Now what he's saying here is, he is equating or comparing nature to the country in general. He's saying that nature is tender, nature is delicate, nature is just like our country, which we must protect, we must stand for at all times. And he compares this tenderness of nature to the human eye. The human eye can be destroyed with just a single pierce, or a single prick by a pin or needle. It will make no eye at all. That means the person will become blind by just a single pierce or prick by a needle. It shows how delicate the human eye is. So he compares nature using simile. He compares the tenderness of nature to the tenderness of the human eye. That any slight activity on nature renders it, dead. The same way any slight pierce on the human eye renders the person blind. And so nature is tender, nature is delicate, and should be protected by humans and not destroyed. That is what these lines are reflecting. And the persona goes further to say, even where we mean to mend her, we end her. When we hew or delve, aftercomers cannot guess the beauty being. And so he says, even when we have good intentions to make nature better, we as humans end up destroying her. That's why he said, even when we mean to mend her, we end her. And so nature should be allowed to grow and thrive on its own. There should be no kind of human activity in the natural world. And that is why he laments the cutting down of these trees, because the trees should be allowed to thrive and grow on their own without any form of interference by human beings. Because even when we think that we are trying to help nature to thrive, we end up destroying nature. Even when we think that we are trying to make our lives better through civilization or development or industrialization, we end up further destroying our lives. And so nature should be allowed to thrive on its own without any kind of human interference. And he's saying that posterity will never see or will never know how beautiful nature is if we continue to destroy nature, if we continue to distort the natural order of things. Our children and generations to come will never understand or will never guess or know how beautiful nature is. But if we allow nature to thrive and grow and prosper on its own, posterity and future generations will understand the beauty of nature and appreciate this beauty. And in the last lines here, the persona says 10 or 12, only 10 or 12 strokes of havoc on self. The sweet, a special scene, rural scene, a rural scene, sweet, a special rural scene. So these lines just captures the destructive activity of humans, striking the trees 10 times or 12 times, striking those trees 10 times or 12 times, destroying the trees, causing havoc on the trees. and changing the personality, the heritage of nature entirely. On self, changing that personality of nature to something else. The sweet scene, the beautiful scene, the comforting scene, the cool scene, those trees, those branches, those leaves that protects humans from the scorching sun. That rural scene, a sweet, a special rural scene, destroyed by 10 or 12 strokes, causing havoc, causing destruction, and obliteration of beauty. These lines really is a lamentation of the poet's anger towards the destructive nature of human beings. So overall, the poem showing that nature should be protected, nature should be allowed to thrive, and the destruction of these poplar trees was indeed a very painful experience for Gerard Hopkins, and he wrote this poem in memory of the trees and to admonish humans to allow nature to thrive so that posterity will come to appreciate the beauty of nature. So thank you, scholars, for being there. In our next lesson, we're going to look at the themes in this poem, Binsey Poplars. So please make sure you subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell so that you will be notified when I upload the video on the themes of this poem and any other video of mine. Also, don't forget to like and share this video, especially to your friends, children, and anyone who is preparing for the West African Examination Council Senior School Certificate Examination in Literature in English. So once again, thank you for being there. Until next time, bye-bye.